Hello and welcome to the 11th episode of the Final Fantasy FXN podcast. I'm your host, David Turner, and I'm joined by co-host Katya.
Hello, kids.
And we are also joined by Josh.
Is this where I say FXN?
Yep.
FXN!
FXN? And for the first time ever on a non-live podcast, we're joined by Kareem.
Hey, what's up?
For the low price of $399 US.
$399 US.
Alright, so our outline for this episode is slightly different than normal. We're going to be starting with our news segment, and it's going to be a pretty long one. We have about 100 bullet points that we're going to be going over. And then we'll move on to our questions segment, and there will be no feature discussion this episode, because we want to make sure we can fit in as much news as possible.
I feel like you're trying to tell me something, David. This is the third episode I've been on with no feature discussion that I've been able to participate in.
Some kind of alien conspiracy going on.
Must be very disappointing for you.
It is. I know, because I really want to do my feature discussion voice, but I haven't been able to.
Well, it'll happen someday. Maybe next time. So, if you're our first-time listener, the Final Fantasy FXN podcast is a monthly podcast presented by the Final Fantasy FXN Network. You can subscribe to us on iTunes Store, the Miro Podcast Directory, YouTube, and of course, FinalFantasy-FXN.net. So we will begin with our news segment, and our first piece of news came, I believe, the day after the Sony press conference.
Yes.
And this was an interview, I believe in the Genki magazine.
Yes.
I don't quite remember, but Nomura revealed some pretty major details about Final Fantasy XV. So our first point is fairly long, so bear with me. Regardless of the name change from Versus 13 and the feel of being a numbered title, within the company, about 1 to 2 years after Versus 13 was announced, discussions were had on its scale and concept. It was considered that the game may be appropriate for Final Fantasy XV. They talked about it for several years. 2 years ago, sometime in 2011, developers began to hear about next-generation consoles, and the team decided to make Final Fantasy Versus 13 into Final Fantasy XV. 1 year ago, they decided that all development will ship to next-generation consoles, and the name was officially changed. So it pretty much confirms what we were talking about in the live podcast. We basically suspected that a couple of years ago they made the decision to switch things over to next generation. That's why we basically didn't hear about it for a couple of years. So, yeah.
I mean, to me it felt like they should have probably named it like this from the very beginning.
Yeah.
I mean, it seemed like a very huge project, and I guess at the beginning they didn't expect that it's gonna take as much resources, so they probably thought it would be okay to make it as a spin-off.
Yeah.
But it never really seemed like a spin-off to me.
No, and I wonder with some of the backlash from Final Fantasy 13,
I think
about like it's too linear, no overworld, no airships. Nomura was like, well, I guess we'll have to put some airships and all that in here, but it's just not going to work too well on the current generation systems. So they probably quickly realized that it's not going to work well on these systems, which probably memory would be more of an issue for that sort of thing. So
sure, and as you said before, I think a major part of it possibly was because the backlash of 13, and I guess they so adamantly wanted to change that perception because not everybody was that happy about the 13 situation, and I guess they wanted to milk the assets of 13 so much to give us sequels that a lot of us did not ask for.
Yeah.
And then the constant delays, so I think it is a good move.
I wonder if they didn't really make much money on the original 13.
Maybe not as much as they thought they would have.
Yeah. I mean, if they look at Tomb Raider and say, we were disappointed with the sales and it sells like over 3 million in its first month or week.
Yeah, considering how long it also took to make it.
Yeah, and like all the CG cutscenes, I think those are pretty expensive.
And they were expecting it to sell better than 7, so...
Yeah. I mean, maybe they were only breaking even.
Like, looking back on all of that, it's very, very amusing.
Oh, water.
We finally broke free from the Wada Empire.
And then obviously it's the fact that Toriyama's in love with himself, so.
Yep.
Yeah. All right, so the next point is the game will be an action-based RPG. Not much turn-based style will be featured in 15, but in the trailer we can see a command system in the screen. Nomura tried to keep the taste of Final Fantasy. He's not trying to make it all action. The game being a Final Fantasy entry is the most important thing. If Final Fantasy were to become an action game, Nomura feels that this game would come closest to showing what that would be like. So it sounds like Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah.
He's taking a lot from Kingdom Hearts because it has a command system.
Pretty much.
There can never be too much Kingdom Hearts.
Yes, it can.
No.
Yes.
That's actually one thing I like about Versus, in that it seems that it will be a more serious Kingdom Hearts. Because I remember Nomura talking before that, in terms of working on the Versus project, he was in a light too long working on Kingdom Hearts, and this is more close to his personality. So it is a fantasy based on realities in that, yes, it's like Kingdom Hearts, but it could be more serious. And that's one thing I like about it, you know, and that he mentioned that because initially the concept was that it wasn't a numbered title, was the fact that he could take these risks and make it like this. And now the situation changed, and now it's a numbered entry. But I think it'll be good, actually.
Yeah.
But it seems like it's getting some backlash now because people,
It is. I think especially in Japan.
Yeah, they're not too happy that it's an action game and it's a main title.
But they were all happy that it was Versus before.
Yeah.
That seems interesting.
But I guess they expect that the main series is gonna stick to the same, tropes throughout the series.
Well, the way I see it, like, as long as the gameplay is good, I don't really care whether it's turn-based or action.
As long as it's not Dojo Cerberus.
I feel like this is gonna be really refreshing for the series too, to break away from all that.
Yeah, actually, like, a lot of people don't like the turn-based. Like, I want to play Final Fantasy, but it's turn-based. I don't like that.
Well, I get that from all my friends, but they're super hypocritical because they love Pokemon.
Oh, yeah.
Which is it's the exact same battle system, just more limited.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty basic system, actually.
And they say they hate turn-based, but they love Pokemon.
As long as it doesn't become the norm, I'm okay. Like, it can be an experiment, but every Final Fantasy after this cannot be an action RPG.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I would prefer for it to be a, active time battle system, but I mean, I'm okay to try this out once or twice. Because, I mean, I can see, like, some people, they're just not that good at action games, and they got into Final Fantasy because it was the way it used to be. So this could, changing the formula quite a lot.
And then when you get battles like, if it's going to be like Kingdom Hearts, remember fighting Sephiroth, and there will be battles like that.
That's crazy.
So many bad memories of Sephiroth in those games.
And I can see it happening with 15. That there will be some, and I am looking forward to it because I love those kind of impossible feats. I mean, beating Sephiroth for the first time in Kingdom Hearts, that was a rush.
Very rewarding.
So I'm looking forward to it being really difficult and a good battle system. Not just a rehash of Kingdom Hearts, but it has to stand on its own merits.
Alright, so the next point is the interviewer notes that Noctis has many fans, but he is very mysterious. Nomura, meanwhile, describes Noct as not cool on the inside. Appearances can be deceiving. He's rather cocky, and him not being cool is actually his main characteristic. Well, I kind of see that, because to me, Noctis seems like a very quiet and...
It's very shy and reserved.
Some of his replies in the trailer, like he was talking to the light, he did seem kind of, cocky, like he's above others.
Yeah, that's the prince. June. When you don't eat when you don't eat your green soup, this is what happens to you. But
I personally don't mind it. I think it's good that they try, not to have those happy, bubbly characters that's all positive. Exactly. They're trying something new. Like, I like great characters. I don't like that all bad or all white. I think everybody has both sides.
Yeah, Squall and Cloud were a lot like that.
Yeah. But then I expect a lot of people not gonna like him because of this.
Yeah, they'll probably say he's emo or something like that.
I mean, Squall got a lot of backlash because of the way he is.
Yeah.
Whatever.
I thought he was a good character, though, Squall.
Squall is a good character. Like,
it took him
I enjoyed him.
Disc.
But Squall was a douche at the beginning.
It takes about a disc for the character development to start.
Yeah, and at the end, I liked Squall by the end of the game, but at the beginning I was like, okay, that's enough. They're just trying to be friendly. You can calm down now, Squall. It's okay.
You don't need to shout at them.
But I like the parallel, like how they did Noctis, like to me, I could be looking completely wrong in this, but it seems like with strangers, he's very abrasive and cocky, but with his friends, he doesn't seem that way, like they're like his base or his ground. So like the interaction between him and I think Ignis and Prompto, I think it will be different from how he interacts with the outside world, I think. And that is a better dynamic, I think, would be.
Yeah, I think it makes him, be more realistic as a character.
Exactly.
And there are people like this out there.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's better than he's just, I'm happy and I want to save everybody. In that, the hell with everybody else, I just like my friends and family. It'll be interesting to see if he makes any sacrifices, like he opts to sacrifice nations or just to save his father and his friends. That would be interesting to see.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited to see how they're gonna use his character.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a basis for a good, complex character and possibly a relatively mature story.
Yep.
And bromance.
Yay!
Bromantic.
So the next point is, in Final Fantasy games, one's party is necessary. How to use them is a core feature in Final Fantasy games in regards to taking turns, how to act, etc. Noctis can battle by himself, but in the trailer we can see him with the other characters as well. There will be lots of team cooperation, but it will be different from previous Final Fantasies. In the new gameplay trailer, we can see 3 playable characters cooperating with each other to fight a giant behemoth. There will be drama in these interactions. It won't be too systematic, but rather it will have some sort of story aspects to it as well. Nomura and his team are aware that battling with one's party is necessary in the Final Fantasy series. So if you remember from the trailer, we see Noctis and the rest of the guys pulling up the giant sword and attacking the Iron Giant.
Yeah, that was pretty sweet. It's a pretty sweet scene.
And we were just talking before the podcast that could be like maybe a limit break where like you take the whole party and they do some kind of mega action.
Like similar to Trinity Limit from Kingdom Hearts.
Exactly. Or it could be a quick time event.
Maybe.
Kingdom Hearts had those too.
Yeah, mash triangle to win.
Based on that same trailer, like if you watch when the behemoth was attacking, there was the guy who was playing, he was running around to get to this. It looks like he was trying to go to a particular point to trigger the response from Gladiolus. And I remember back when it was Lucis, Nomura mentioned that there won't be limit break in the game, but there'll be dynamic interaction. And I think that it will more go to that route, like maybe it won't be a specific limit break, like it's called Trinity Limit and it will do this, but maybe there'll be some gauge that will be, okay, you can have a team attack, and depending on the enemy and the environment, it may change. So it'll be more dynamic. I think it may be
Okay, here's a thought. Here comes a Metal Gear reference. So if any of you have played Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker, there's some lots of co-op modes in that game.
Right.
And when you're fighting some of the bosses, like you have to maybe take down a tank or something like that, there are these, I can't remember what they're called, but like super ultra co-op weapon or something like that. And there's this one where you can place these like beacons around the tank, and once all 4 of them are activated, a helicopter will lift up the vehicle, and then you can take it to your home base. But all 4 of those players playing cooperatively have to do those actions like in a very short amount of time, so they have to truly be cooperative with that. And so maybe, as you were saying, like you have to run to a certain position around the behemoth, and then once they're all in that position, then they're ready to attack.
That's pretty cool, actually. I need to play Peace Walker.
Yeah, it's a great game.
That was the PSP one, right?
This is the only Metal Gear game I haven't played.
Well, it's on the PS3 as well.
That game, does it require other players?
That one does, yeah. You would have to play online cooperatively.
Because I'm sure said if in 15 you have other people playing other characters.
Actually, there's a point about that coming up, so don't rule that out.
Local co-op?
Yeah, it could happen.
As I considering. Who knows?
Yeah, who knows? So the next point is, unlike what the interviewer thought, Noctis doesn't defy gravity or use gravity spells, but rather has the ability to teleport himself, including into the sky. In trying to make a game realistic, it becomes impossible to enjoy. What?
Maybe, okay, I don't know.
I
too
guess
much
maybe,
realism is bad.
Yeah.
It's boring, I guess.
If it's real life, it sucks.
Yeah, because you can't do magic, I guess. Okay.
Yeah.
Nomura has been trying to figure out a good balance between realism and the game's main entertainment as a fantasy. Ah, I understand now. Okay, that makes sense.
The thing is, I understand what he means because it's Final Fantasy, and if I can't summon a 50-foot Leviathan or jump down a building and do magic spells, I'll be disappointed too. So, actually, initially I was disappointed that there won't be limit breaks, but after seeing how they are implemented, I think it will be okay. So I agree with it. The real world is boring.
Uh-huh.
That's why I play video games.
Yeah. All right. So until about a year ago, the team was making Final Fantasy XV for current generation consoles as well. Ooh. But next generation consoles, according to Nomura, have better quality. This better quality only increases as the development proceeds.
So they can use the full potential of the Luminous engine.
Yeah, but they're still running it on Crystal tools, so if they're going to port it to Luminous, that's gonna take another few years.
Delay.
And they did say they're considering the move to Luminous.
You're gonna delay it for 7 more years.
Don't even
that
talk
makes
to me
me
right
worried
now.
a little bit. Well, they have a whole generation now they can wait out, so.
No, but this one good thing though is that I think that because the new consoles are more PC oriented, it will be faster. Like I think because Crystal 2 is a PC engine, so I'm not that much into tech, but I think it may be easier to move that direction.
But how is it easier going from one engine to completely something else?
Well,
yeah,
I don't know if it's completely different. Like, it's a different engine, but I can almost guarantee you that they're going to be able to reuse about 90% of what they have already.
I also think that some aspects of, because I think I mentioned it when we did the live podcast, is that a lot of the lighting effects, with the magic and everything, they look similar to what we saw in the Agnes Philosophy trailer. So I think a lot of the assets are already from Luminous engine.
Yeah.
So
they use some Luminous add-on to do the lighting before.
Oh.
On Crystal dolls.
Oh yes.
That's probably
true.
why.
But I hope it's fast. I need to play this game.
Well, like if you look at Mark Cerny's talk that he gave like a week or two ago about the PS4 development and like how it came to be, one of the things he brought up was a concept called time to triangle, and that's like how long it takes just like something running, like something that you can see and works, not necessarily a game, but just like maybe a character on the screen.
Yeah.
Called the time to triangle, and the PS1 was 1 to 2 months, PS2 was like 2 to 4, and PS3 was 6 to 12, and PS4 is now back to 1 to 2 months. So
that's pretty insane.
Hopefully that will result in
right.
So hopefully that results in a few things. Like, first of all, it's going to reduce development costs significantly, which will mean they won't have to worry about let's cram in all this DLC and make tons of sequels. And
well, I'm sure they'll do that anyway.
They probably will, just to maximize profits. But it won't be like, okay, well, in order for us to actually make money, we need to do these things. Hopefully it won't actually come to that.
You want to play
probably will.
Stella's original face? Please buy this DLC for $10.99.
Yeah.
Buy lightning costume for Noctis.
Oh no! My heart, you hurt me there.
Sorry.
And they should give Noctis the Buster Sword and the Gunblade.
I could see that.
One of his weapons, definitely. Buster Sword and Gunblade.
Why don't we just give him all the weapons at the same time?
Well, he will. He cycles through the weapons.
Yeah, we should just give him everything though.
Give him Kane's lance too. They should give him weapons. His ultimate weapon should be the ultimate weapon for every hero. In Final
That'd be pretty
history.
cool.
Save lightning.
Everything. What is it called in 13? What's the name of that one?
Omega weapon.
Omega weapon. Yeah, let's not use that one.
Yeah, that's not important. It's not like it does anything.
Alright, so the next point is the way of developing the game, or games in general, has changed. Before, when going multi-platform, a game would be fit to one console's specifications and we would be evened out to other consoles. But now games are made in a different way. Nomura always had in his mind that he didn't want to make a game that compromises quality. And I think this has a lot to do with the game engines and how they've improved over the time. Like, you can basically build a game and it builds it for every system you want it to. You don't have to make all these crazy tweaks just for it to simply work on another console. It says a lot to do with the game engines and how far they've come.
But probably also has to do with Xbox and PS4 having somewhat similar structures.
Yeah, that's true. And even the Wii U, like if you look at it, it's actually fairly similar as well, just lower specification.
Yeah. Because before it was PS3 was a problem for everybody.
Yeah, because it's totally different.
Yeah.
Don't forget, guys, the Wii U is actually still a console. It does exist.
Maybe it'll be ported to Wii U after.
3 years later. Wii U port with touchpad incorporation.
And you know, like, it's not even just like the same architecture. Like, both the Xbox One and the PS4 use the x86 architecture. If you look at the game engine Unity 3D, that's a fairly popular one for indie developers, and I think one of the reasons why is because it makes it so easy to just develop for every platform. Like, if you look at it, you have options to build for PS3, Xbox, Wii, I think, and PC, but also like Android and iOS and Flash. So, I mean, you can build it for everything. So
I think that's definitely a benefit. You know, how compatible everything is now. And that means that games could be made faster, as you mentioned before. Because now you don't have to wait, okay, if this port isn't working well. And that improves the quality. So they're similar to PC structure. I mean, maybe you could do some enhancements depending on different consoles' strengths, but there will be a base of quality that all should meet. So that's a benefit.
Yeah, it is.
And, you know, they could use the power of the cloud effect.
Yeah, the power of the cloud.
The cloud is a lie.
I have my doubts about the cloud.
Or we could just use 8 gigabytes of GDDR5.
I think that would be more
for the low price of $399 US.
$399 US.
Alright, so this time, using a different development method, Nomura chose not to look at consumer consoles to meet the specifications. Instead, he focused on making higher quality games. They used a development tool called DirectX 11 to make the game. The consoles that handle that tool can be used to port the game. The team hopes to maintain the original high quality of the game they're making when it's ported to consoles. So...
Poor Wii U.
There goes the Wii U port.
I thought the Wii U does support DirectX, so...
I believe it doesn't.
No?
So they're pretty much saying it's never gonna be on Wii U.
You know, I kind of hoped they were going with OpenGL for a while, but I guess not.
But it's good news. I mean, it's the high quality PC version that it easily ported to the x86 structure, Xbox and PS4.
Yeah, and I wonder if this means we're going to also see a PC release.
Well, they did hint at that, I believe. They would wait for demand, I guess. But, I mean, if it's being built on a high-quality PC and essentially a PC version does exist, then they might as well sell it.
Yeah, put it on Steam or something.
Yeah, they'll probably sell it crazy on Steam.
Oh, that would just be amazing. That would be a huge seller.
Everything sells like crazy on Steam.
Imagine with all the Steam sales, you can buy it for like $10.
That'd be so amazing.
Can you imagine the mods?
Oh, well,
yeah.
Could there be mods for like a game like that? Like, do you think...
I'm sure they'd find a way.
I don't really know how mods work.
They'd find a way.
Like, would Square Enix allow that sort of thing?
Square Enix sucks with Steam. I mean, it took them how long to just port Final Fantasy XIV to Steam? Sure. And they released it on their eShop instead first.
Isn't Final Fantasy XI on there?
I'm not sure.
I have no idea.
Pretty sure 14 is not, but I believe I saw 11 on there.
I've only ever seen 11 played on an Xbox.
But 11 was around for too long already.
Yeah.
They're gonna, when they release it, people are gonna mod it, and it'll be the Final Fantasy VII remake.
We've all been waiting for it.
Yeah.
Except Cloud can suddenly use everybody's swords at the same time.
He did. In Advent Children, Omnistar Version 5. What are you talking about?
That'll just become his normal attack animation.
You heard it here first.
Breaking news.
Final Fantasy VII, the remake, it exists.
And mods. Or a potential Steam version, maybe.
All right, so the final point for this news is Kingdom Hearts 3 and Final Fantasy XV are both coming to PS4 and the Xbox One, but DirectX 11 is the key. Whichever hardware is compatible with DirectX 11, the team will keep that hardware in consideration.
PC.
So when Nintendo makes their next gimmicky console, if it can run DirectX 11, they might get 15.
That sounds like it's
so
almost
next 7
confirming a
years.
PC version.
Well, you know what? There's really no reason why it shouldn't, because I would think the graphics card would allow it, but they probably just don't have the licensing and the drivers required for it, because they would have to pay like Microsoft royalties just to have it on the system.
But also seems like the latest DirectX 11 seems to be exclusive to Xbox, like 11.3 version.
Well, it's exclusive to Windows 8. And Xbox One basically uses Windows 8, so yeah, you're probably right.
I wonder if it's going to affect it in any way.
I wonder.
Is it going to keep it exclusive?
Well, you know what, they'll probably just go with the lower end version, like whatever version's available in both.
Or maybe
just to keep equality.
Or maybe Sony and Microsoft will trade it. Sony will be like, okay, we'll lower your Blu-ray royalty fees if you give us DirectX 11.
Could be.
It's possible.
But I think it could
changing hands.
Basically confirms that we will see a PC version maybe a year after.
Could be. Yeah, maybe not right away, but a little after.
So did say they're considering it, right? So
yeah. I mean, this point that whichever hardware is compatible with DirectX 11 they will keep that hardware in consideration.
But I think if it happens, it's going to take at least a couple of years after the console release.
Yep, I won't play it on PC anyway, so...
I mean, the consoles are pretty powerful, but not a lot of people upgrade the hardware as fast, so it'd be pointless to release it right away anyway.
Yeah, you're right. The ease of owning a next-gen console.
You know, it would bring in a whole bunch of like new gamers to the franchise who probably never really even considered it, because a lot of PC gamers, like, they don't even really play console games. They think of them as inferior. So.
Yeah, but then they're gonna hate also old Final Fantasies because they're not action games.
Yeah, well... Yeah.
Very good point.
Brand new type of eaters.
Maybe they can see past that.
They'll only play Crisis Core and Type 0.
And Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah, maybe.
Kingdom Hearts.
Everybody should play Kingdom Hearts, though.
Why is that, Josh?
Because Kingdom Hearts is the greatest series ever invented, obviously.
Are you sure?
Nope.
We'll agree to disagree.
All right, so that finishes up all of our points for that interview. We have another interview where Nomura revealed some 15 details.
More Final Fantasy 15 news.
This one's slightly shorter, so yeah.
David, more Final Fantasy 15 news. Am I dreaming?
No, you're not.
Oh my god.
Is this real life?
This is real life.
It's happening.
You have been unplugged. You are no longer in the Matrix.
Okay. I can see it.
It's starting to dawn on me that this game is actually going to be released sometime in the near future.
Maybe before I graduate.
Maybe before I graduate college.
You'll have your PhD before the film comes out.
You'll have grandchildren.
I can
God.
say. Oh,
don't even say that.
No, Kat, that's when Kingdom
Too
Hearts.
far.
That's when Kingdom Hearts 3.
Namor is gonna be turned into a cyborg so he can keep on working on the game.
Alright, so the first point is one reason to move the development to the next generation platform is because the PlayStation 3 showed limitations. One example is that the processing power of the current generation console can't keep up when a car is sped up in the world map. Really?
Vehicles confirmed. World map confirmed.
Are you, I mean... Ni no Kuni did it.
But Ni no Kuni is not as graphically intensive. It is very simplistic graphics.
I know, but still, like, that sounds like a pretty lame excuse.
I mean, when you look at games that, very heavy graphics, like Heavy Rain, it looks very pretty, but then they can't really do much with gameplay.
Yeah.
It's not gonna run well.
I don't know. I would think another reason would be a bigger limitation, like the memory.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, it's part of it.
Probably part of the reason, but I mean,
I think
because of Nomura, I'll allow Nomura this. I mean, it's still coming, and I like that he's not compromising his vision. Like, there was an option to make it better. I mean, it sucked for us because we were waiting for 7 years, but
yeah.
I like that it seems that the quality will be insane, so
yeah,
I can respect that. But if it's delayed anymore, I'll find him.
Mm-hmm. I'll find him.
I will find you. And I will force you to make this game.
Okay, so this next point is about the co-op that we mentioned earlier. Basically, co-op multiplayer mode is considered. And so I think that basically confirms that first-person shooter or first-person multiplayer team deathmatch mode is confirmed.
Hell yes.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Dude, just Silverus.
Called it.
Yeah. Josh was correct with his prediction.
I'm trying to imagine everybody running around the city from the trailer as like the same 3 characters shooting each other.
Yeah. But on a slightly more serious note, it does kind of bring up the possibility of that Metal Gear Peace Walker thing I was talking about earlier. Because like, if you were playing cooperatively and each one of you were one of your 3 party members, imagine how fun that would be. I think it would be.
Yeah, we could have a little FXN game night.
Yeah,
play together.
Honestly, that would be a blast. I'd love to see it.
Actually,
it could definitely work because it's an action game and
you know, it could be completely seamless. Like your friend could just join in whenever they want, and they'll just replace the AI which is currently running. And when they decide to leave, well, then the AI just takes control. So
yeah,
imagine how fun that would be.
That'd be so cool.
But I think that would be a good, like, even if it's local or online co-op like that, will be good. And even if there were, like, some specific non-story related modes that help with the game.
Like missions, going on a mission. And,
maybe they help to liberate some, I don't know, cities or regions that are captured by the invading military, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And you get some special items or, I don't know.
You can unlock some exclusive summons or something.
Yeah. Exactly. You could finally get... Oh no, you got the Python, never mind.
Yeah.
Oh, and
my favorite summons are already in the game.
And that would be the situation where you could summon the Python on this mission. And it won't be overkill.
Yep. Alright, so the next point is smartphone and tablet connectivity are considered. And we actually have a question about this in the questions segment. So we'll actually skip our discussion about this for now and just leave it for the questions segment. So the next point is Nomura desired for all scenes in which Noctis isn't in control to be pre-rendered CG, but it's not a realistic approach, most likely because of money and time. Therefore, those scenes will be remade in the same quality as Agni's philosophy by utilizing the Luminous engine with the help of the visual works. So that is pretty awesome because some of the graphics in the trailer, I mean, they look good, but they didn't look as good as Agni's philosophy. So I think it's good to see that we'll most likely be seeing.
With Agni's philosophy, it almost looks like CG at this point. So.
Oh, borderline, yeah.
It's not gonna make much difference.
But I think they'll do it like Uncharted.
They might as well have zero CG because I'd rather see something in game that looks unbelievable than something pre-rendered.
I think they're gonna have CG. I mean, that part when he's in the car and driving, it was still in the trailer. I think that was CG.
I hope we actually see fewer CG.
I'm pretty sure they'll save the CG for like the huge moments, like the ending.
I hope so.
Like to really make an impact.
It's something that I am accustomed to in Final Fantasy. Like the CG was actually part of the most enjoyable part for me in 30.
Oh really?
Yeah, the CG scenes, like when they attack Cocoon on the race racetrack.
And they got all on our Eidolons.
And when they entered Grand Pulse for the first time, and they jumped off and they summoned Bahamut. Yeah. There was also some of my... Oh, and even when Snow entered on the Shiva thing, and he summoned Shiva and they made the ice bath. The CG, I mean, they do CG really well, so I was looking forward to the new CG cutscene.
Yeah, I feel the same.
The thing is, like with CG, the difference between CG and in-game graphics is not that big anymore. Like if you, visually, like if you look at way back in the day in Final Fantasy VII, the difference is pretty huge. You have these blocky polygon characters.
It's like look, my arms look like Popeye.
Yeah, and then like. Even PS2, like if you look at if you play a PS2 game on not a very good TV, sometimes I wondered, is this pre-rendered or is this in-game? Like sometimes I couldn't actually even tell the difference. And then PS3, like I don't know, like it seemed like some of those scenes weren't even necessary in for show and just say, exactly. Oh yeah, like these amazing graphics.
It's like don't forget, we're Square Enix, we're the masters of CG.
Yeah. So, and like, then you look at Uncharted, and I would prefer to see in-game stuff. And Metal Gear as well. Like, Metal Gear it's never had pre-rendered graphics. And I think it's something about those games, it makes them better. Like, at least now.
I understand, like, what you mean. It depends on the type of the game, as you mentioned, because for Final Fantasy, it's more like tradition and staple. So without CG...
It's not Final Fantasy.
It's the newer Final Fantasy. It's something I expect, I look forward to. You know, I know an epic event happens when I see the screen cut away and I see CG
that's
coming.
True.
I know something like epic is coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me it also wouldn't feel the same.
Like in 12, they had a lot of meaningless CG, like the parade scene, like the beginning of the parade. Why was that in CG? But like if they save the CG for only like the top of the line epic moments, I think that's good.
Much more meaningful. Like maybe even if they only had like 5 or 6, but they were for the biggest moments of the entire game.
Exactly.
The big set pieces.
It makes them more special.
Yeah.
And also they can spend more time on them, just make them look unbelievable. But like in the scene where he's eating the soup, to me that's not a scene where they had to make CG.
No,
they could have easily made that.
But it's Chibi Noctis. How can you not want to make CG?
And the shade of green wouldn't be nice enough, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Whatever they do is gonna look good anyway, so who cares?
Yeah, who really cares? Alright, so when an enemy is locked on, it becomes a lens flare. Okay, well, whatever.
Cool.
Summons is based on a ranking system. Leviathan, for example, is one of the top ranking summons and is shown in its massive scale. So,
that makes me happy.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
But I wonder how's it gonna summon it if it's so huge?
It's just gonna crush the buildings all around it and leave the city in debt.
No, but you know, it makes sense in, you know, turn-based or, you know, ATB battle system. But when you're running around...
It'll be like, oh look, it's a cactuar. Let me summon Leviathan. Leviathan, kill this cactuar.
Tidal wave.
You know, they kind of did that with Final Fantasy XII, and I didn't like that. I didn't like the summons in Final Fantasy XII. Because I found them pretty useless and weak.
I never could pay attention to what's going on with them, so it's like they weren't even there.
Yeah, the thing about that, like 12, one thing I didn't like about 12 was the fact that they were the Iblis Alliance or the Zodiac summon, so I never liked them. I mean, I love Shiva, Bahamut.
There were a couple good ones.
You know.
There were a couple good Iblis ones.
So it was an interesting change for once, but I wouldn't want always like that.
What I didn't like about that is that they made the summons airships.
Yeah, Bahamut is not an airship. And... I'm sorry, the pronunciation is Bahamut in Final Fantasy XII. It's not Bahamut, it's Bahamut.
I think I've heard a billion different ways to say that summon throughout like every single...
I only want Knights of the Round to make... I want him to They need to be in 15.
This would only be the second appearance, right?
Dude, because they were in Type 0 from what I heard. No, sorry, they were mentioned in the novel as one of the grand eidolons in Type 0. So they have a chance of being... one of my favorite summons ever. And Shiva.
Alright, so on a related note, Noctis has to defeat the summon before he can acquire it. So I guess that's why we see him battling against Leviathan in the trailer.
It's going to be such a cool...
Oh, it's going to be the God of War or Shadow of the Colossus scale battle.
It seems like he's climbing things a lot in the trailer. Not the trailer, the gameplay video that they showed before. So it's probably like Shadow of the Colossus.
Noctis is secretly the Wanderer.
Yeah.
And he can... So we're just wondering when we're going to see the horse.
And that brings up a question, like, what is the practicality of using Leviathan? Like, after you get Leviathan, are you going to have, like, a chibi Leviathan to summon? Because if I'm fighting on the scale of Noctis is fighting, if I summon Leviathan, it's going to be collateral damage.
That's what I was thinking earlier.
Well, there's going to be... The environment is destructible, so...
It's like, oh look, Leviathan, I destroy my entire parliament. Okay.
It's a bit strange how such a huge summon would, bow down to Noctis.
No, but he is cocky.
No, but for example, in Final Fantasy XIV, how to do it? Like, if the summon is small, you can capture it and you can summon it, but if it's huge, like, you can't capture it by itself, you have to capture it with a group of people and, like, your whole guild or something, and then you can summon it as a guild because it's so big. But here only Noctis can do it. It's kind of strange to me.
There's probably gonna be limitations on when you can summon certain things.
Kat, that's a good point. Maybe it is that some summons you recruit to strengthen the city's defenses. Mm-hmm. So how they're fighting against other warring nations, maybe conquering. Because I think that Leviathan may have been summoned by a rival nation to attack them. So maybe that defeating Leviathan allows it to be used for your city. So you have some summons that, the grand summons maybe, that will protect your city maybe.
Could be. Maybe it can only be used in certain situations.
Yeah, I'm assuming there's going to be a segment where you have to cross an ocean, just like most Final Fantasy games.
Or
maybe like an ocean battle, just summon Leviathan and sink everything.
Or, it could be just like part of a cutscene. Like, you can't actually use it in battle, but you see him using it in some mega cutscene.
Or maybe they could have some crazy requirements to summon it.
But I want to walk around a desert, summoning my giant sea dragon, and then watching it flop about on land.
Yeah, where does the water come from? You could only use it in a water place, I would think, unless it creates the water.
Yeah, he just vomits water everywhere. It's like, look at me.
It's just too awesome to bring its own water.
It's like Pokemon.
he just brings the giant kiddie pool with him.
It's like, Leviathan, use Hydro Pump.
Alright, so the final point is the theme of the story is Bond, and there will be a lot of humor. The story is about recovering the crystal of Noctis Kingdom. So I guess 007 is going to make an appearance in Final Fantasy 15.
I'm honestly getting I'm getting a Final Fantasy IX type of vibe from this. In terms of the story, not necessarily the story, but like the bond and humor.
If that's true, then it's going to be awesome.
Well, yeah.
Because as we all know, Final Fantasy IX was amazing.
I think it's a different kind of bond here. I mean, it's
more romantic.
Yeah, it's here about him and his friends, I guess.
His posse.
Yeah.
And nobody else.
I'm just imagining them all getting in this limo and driving around rival nations, like doing drive-bys.
Someone needs to take, the GIF that has the Persona characters in the car from Zoolander. They need to do that with Noctis and his friend.
Oh yeah, that could work.
Oh man.
Only a matter of time until someone does it.
Probably already exists. This is the internet we're talking about.
Alright, so I think that's about it for Final Fantasy 15, at least for now. And we'll move on to Final Fantasy 14, as the next beta was playable not too long ago. And in fact, FXN was given some beta codes by Square Enix. So there are 135 people who are now in the beta and played it. And so how many of you guys here played the beta? I know Katya.
I've been playing since phase 1.
Not I.
I have.
Yeah, so that's what I thought. It was Kareem and Katya who have played the beta. So we'll get on with some of these points. Yoshida revealed that the Scholar job will evolve from the Arcanist class. Both Scholar and Summoner will breach off from Arcanist. In the future, players can expect multiple jobs to branch off from other classes as well. So some kind of class evolution structure.
Like when you begin the game, you select your class, for example, Archer or Marauder, or I guess now Arcanist, and then when you level up to level 30 and another class to another level 15, you can start a job. So I guess if you level up Arcanist to 30 and some other to 15, you can start Scholar or Summoner.
But, so it adds a little bit more depth to the gameplay as well,
yeah.
I guess, suppose.
But I can imagine in the beginning there's gonna be a lot of Arcanists now running around.
Why is that?
Well, if you go to servers with old players, a lot of the people already leveled up everybody to the max, so they're gonna do something new.
Arcanist will use Carbuncle as a pet.
Carbuncle!
Summoners will have Ifrit, Garuda, and Titan, and more. So, I guess, obviously, the Summoners will be able to summon.
Maybe.
I would hope so.
And Scholar will also have a pet in the form of a healing fairy, while white mages are focused on big heals on single targets. Scholars will be more focused on healing all party members over time. They will have a very different role in party play. We won't be needing 2 white mages anymore for full party content, looks like.
Yay.
I'm not sure if it's good for me.
What are you usually?
I was playing as White Mage or Bard.
Fairies will change stance depending on the type of battle and will also change appearance with different roles.
Fairies.
Yeah. Summons will have different roles as well. Titan will be a tank, Ifrit will be a damager, and Garuda will be a caster. I guess that's kind of cool.
Yeah, but those are definitely not the normal Ifrit, Titan, and Garuda, because which is probably where the name Egi comes from, because you cannot capture normal Garuda by yourself. Like, you can only capture it with a whole bunch of people together.
I guess they are chibi forms with some.
It's probably like, smaller, like a chibi versions.
So chibi Noctis is the summoner form of Noctis. Sarah will be happy.
Yeah. I think she's very happy about fairies, so.
And we also learned that the team would like to release something in terms of new classes or jobs before the first expansion. They also hope to finish the PS4 version and the DirectX PC client within the first year after launch.
Yay.
I kind of thought the PS4 version was going to be coming out at the same time as...
No,
around the same time as
they said 2004.
Yeah, I'm a bit disappointed about that because, I mean, I tried to play it on PS3, but the game is just so... Like, the frame rate is very horrible. My eyes feel blurry after playing it.
I guess lots of optimization to do.
Yeah, but PS4 should run it on the highest possible graphics.
Well, I guess you could play it on PC until the PS4 version comes out.
Yeah, but I mean, it's much easier to play it on the console for me.
Okay.
The city-state of Ishgard will come from the first expansion, but there will be a quest line leading up to the opening of those gates to let players learn about the city and its inhabitants. I have no idea what that's about.
Pretty much from this.
Well, there used to be a whole continent with a city, but you couldn't enter it before, so I guess now they're gonna do an expansion where you can finally enter a new city.
From this point on, I have no idea what 14 is about.
I'm the only one who has anything.
Well,
oh man.
And the Fisher class will come from Beta Phase 4, and it'll be something that will work in a relaxing way, like communicating with nature. The job will be based on choosing one's rod and bait depending on several factors. While fish won't be very valuable, there will be achievements and perks for catching larger ones.
I'm sure fish will give you buffs, I guess.
What's the deal with all the fishermen in like all these games? Just in like Legend of Zelda.
Japan has a thing for it.
And they had Fisherman's Horizon in
well, it is a big part of their culture.
Don't forget about the fishing minigame in Persona 4.
Yeah.
And in Final Fantasy XII, I believe there was a fishing game.
I think people in Japan just like to collect things and like you have mini games about collecting bugs in some games. For example, in some you collect fish.
Well, there was that awful fishing game in Nier that didn't tell you how to do it.
Oh, shush, it's not bad.
I rage quit that game so hard because of that fishing minigame.
I caught all the fish and had no problems with it.
It was like, I throw my controllers a lot because I'm an angry person. But,
well, maybe you just suck at that game.
I don't know. I was doing pretty well against bosses and stuff, but like that fishing, I chucked my controller at my wall. Oh, it was bad. It was bad.
No, it's not. That's easy.
I don't even like you guys right now.
Between the end of Phase 4 and Early Access, there will be only between 1 and 3 days of downtime. So I suppose that's good, since people will be able to... They won't have to go to work for very many days. They will be able to stay home and play their Final Fantasy XIV and skip work or school. They won't have to go back into the real world for very long.
Oh, technically that's gonna start with Phase 4 since everything from Phase 4 gets transferred into the game. Like your characters don't get deleted anymore.
Oh, okay.
Oh, when does Phase 4 begin?
Oh, I think this week is the last week for Phase 3, and I guess the week after that is gonna be Phase 4. But I think they also said Phase 4 is gonna start right away after Phase 3. So maybe they're gonna change the dates.
That means I should stop playing and wait.
Yeah. They're gonna delete everything from what you have now.
I worked so hard on that.
Yeah.
With housing, there will be several permission settings to allow entrance to other people. The free company chest will also have its own access permission system. So once again, I'm very confused.
From what I know, you'll be able to buy your house, and your guild will be able to buy, I don't know, house or whatever.
Oh, okay.
Or huge
so in
mansion.
other words, they're implementing PlayStation Home within Final Fantasy. So at the beginning, only free companies will be able to purchase houses. Then, if everything goes well, that functionality will be expanded to single players.
Are free companies guilds?
Yeah.
Okay,
That
I
makes
understand
sense.
this now. See, I played World of Warcraft, so I understand this part.
Yeah, but this is a new feature basically. Before they had link shells, which are just chat rooms that you create. And they still have them, but now they have proper guilds, which are free company.
And there will be different versions of dungeon tokens that will allow players to purchase different kinds of items in the case that they won't get dropped direct.
So if you've ever played WoW, it reminds me of Justice Points.
Justice points.
When you do dungeons, you get Justice Points, and you can spend the Justice Points on gear you can't get in dungeons.
I think this is like a great improvement. Before it was a huge problem for many people.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because to get one of the best weapons, you had to do this event called Hamlet, and basically you had to, like, you were waiting for drop name seals, and they were very rare, and you have 7 people in your party that you have to share between. You can run all day and maybe get 1 seal, and then you have to decide who you give it to. But now, I guess you get tokens for every time you play, you can purchase the seals instead.
Oh yeah, I guess that's a good fair way then. And the team still didn't have a perfect idea to implement a card-based minigame, so...
Tetramaster!
Yeah, they should just put, like, Tetramaster in there.
I mean considering how much fun service they give in the game, and it's hard to believe they couldn't implement it yet.
I honestly like Triple Triad more than Tetramaster, so go for that one.
Triple Triad was from 9, yeah?
Triple Triad was from 8, Tetramaster was 9.
I preferred Tetramaster much more.
I didn't get the concept as well.
It's more complicated for sure, but I preferred it. Yeah.
Well,
it seemed more like they were actually battling each other.
Yeah.
When I first got into Tetramaster, I was like 9, 8 years old. I didn't really get it.
I still don't fully understand it. Some things seem kind of random.
There's probably like a random number generator that is only made to screw you over.
If you look at some of the tutorials online, though, they explain the actual like mechanics on exactly how you can actually pre-calculate things, I think, and like figure out what exactly is going to happen.
See, I just much rather play Triple Triad where you see the numbers and you hope you don't lose.
Yeah.
For me, card games in 8 were all about refining the cards for good items.
Yep.
That's all.
You had get the Kyros card and get auto haste on everybody, and then the game becomes super easy.
Or I think Bahamut give you like 50 mega elixirs.
The card game was only there so you could break the game and become super powerful by the end of this one.
Alright, so between zones and dungeons, there will be about 40 at launch, with the ability to expand to 80 through patches. So that sounds like a lot to me, but Katya, is that a lot?
I mean, I haven't seen every map to judge, but before the game used to be pretty expensive as it was, so if they're going to double the sizes, I think it's a good sign.
There will be both instanced primal battles in which a light party or a full party will take on a single primal that will have different modes. There will be also fate primal battles, for instance Odin or Behemoth, in which everyone gets together and fights together. They will also have different phases.
This reminds me of like a raid, where the raid bosses are pretty expansive, and if you don't have a full team, you get destroyed.
But the primals are summons, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's just...
Yeah, because instant battles are usually where you fight Ifrit and Garuda and all those summons.
Skirmish battles will come back, but this time they will feature famous Final Fantasy bosses. So, Gilgamesh confirmed.
Gilgamesh confirmed.
No, I hate Gilgamesh.
Gilgamesh is amazing.
No.
How can you hate him?
Blasphemy.
No thanks.
He's comic relief.
I'd rather have Ultras.
Ultras, definitely.
That would be a good battle. Ooh, Leviathan against Ultros.
They should just get Xdeath and like have him talk about the Void every sentence.
Yeah.
So it'd be just like Dissidia.
In Phase 3 of the beta, a lot of effort has been put into creating interesting and challenging quest battles, including the main scenario quests. Don't forget your antidotes. Don't sell them. I don't get that.
There's no context.
Well, you see, David, in Final Fantasy, there's a status ailment called poison, and you can use antidotes to cure that.
Oh, okay.
Well, in Phase 1, things like high potions and potions were pretty useless. But I think now you can use them as normally.
So people poison you more?
Well, I don't know. I did get poisoned once when I played.
So I'm guessing it's like the opposite of WoW. Like WoW just made all their potions useless now. So I guess 14's making theirs useful.
But at least they're not just wasting space now with them.
Alright, Chocobo Bardings will be craftable alongside custom parts for Magitech armors as well. And the team is thinking about implementing a mentor system within free companies, aka guilds.
I have no idea what that is.
Maybe something to help for leveling.
Maybe some kind of leader.
Maybe it's like you can set up somebody to mentor. Like if you have an alternate character, you could have someone mentor it to power level it. I don't know.
Maybe it has to do with rankings within the guild.
It must be.
I don't know how this game works, guys.
And a system to combat RMT is in the planning phase. Okay, so you're gonna fill me in on what RMT is.
I wonder myself. I think maybe it's about players attacking each other. Maybe.
Oh.
But I'm not sure.
Alright.
What? Why do they feel the need to change the name of every standard MMO term?
I'm not sure. I could be completely wrong here.
Oh.
All right, so the final point is the relic quest hasn't changed that much, but it's going to be a lot easier than in 1.0. It'll still be challenging, but there won't be any more Hamlet defense to do.
Yes, that's what I talked about earlier with tokens and getting seals in Hamlet, is to get those relic weapons from the quest. And I actually went through the torture to get them all, and now it's useless. Yay.
I'll take your word for it.
I spent like 3 months.
And that's it for the Final Fantasy XIV news. And our final news for this episode is that Chaos Rings is heading to PlayStation Mobile. That is right. Chaos Rings, a turn-based RPG that was originally made for the iOS in 2010, is going to be released as PlayStation Mobile title. Although the game is already available on Android, being on the PlayStation Mobile as well allows the game to be played on the PlayStation Vita, and it is going to be optimized for it. This may sound kind of strange, but I'm actually kind of excited about that.
I played the game on iOS from like start to the end and got through it. I really enjoyed it. It was one of the first RPGs released on iOS that was, really well made, I think. I mean, it's not on the level of, huge console RPG, but it's...
Isn't it like $10? $8 maybe?
When it was released, it was around 12 or 13. I think now it's cheaper.
I think it was maybe 12 at release, but maybe it's
I think it's going to be about 8 now.
Yeah. So, I recently finally got a phone, and...
Stepping up in the world, David.
And it's actually one of the games that I was kind of looking at it, because it looks pretty good. It kind of reminds me of an old school Final Fantasy with a little bit more action.
Yeah, but the Katya, you have to beat it 4 times to get the true ending.
Really?
Yeah, but 4 different storylines with 4 different couples that you go through. So you see different sides of what's going on.
All right. Yeah, so that might be cool, and if I might actually hold off on getting the game if I end up getting a PlayStation Vita. And honestly, this could even be a system seller for me.
Well, I lost my PSP, so I'm gonna go ahead and suck up the cost and buy a Vita.
Yay!
I think I'm still gonna wait for a price drop and a form factor change, because for me the Vita is just a little bit too big. I'd like it to be just slightly smaller.
When I buy a Vita, I'll be like the 1,000th customer, so...
Is it going to redesign? It's probably going to be much cheaper looking than because every time Sony redesigns something, it's always not as high quality as it used to be before.
Cough, cough, PSP Go.
PS3 also.
That was amazing how small the PlayStation 4 is. Because
I know.
It's actually smaller than the PS Slim.
Yeah, isn't that amazing?
That's pretty awesome, I think.
So when they do the PS4 Slim, it'll be invisible.
And when you compare it with like the Xbox One, which is just like gigantic.
What Xbox One? You mean the DVD player?
The VHS.
Sorry, the VHS player.
Sorry. with a camera that's always watching.
Yep, so that just about wraps it up for our news segment. We definitely had a lot more news, but yeah, we've been talking for a lot, so.
We'll have to turn that news into a future discussion, David.
Maybe
Next
someday.
time.
Next time. Next month is the 12-month anniversary, right? So we'll have to do it then.
Yeah. All right, so we'll move on to our questions segment. We have 4 questions this episode. Our first question is by Fat Moogle, and he asks, do you ever see Square Enix making Final Fantasy XIV a free-to-play game? And I think I'll actually expand this question just to include any free-to-play like MMO. So we'll start with Katya.
I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon. If you look at Final Fantasy XI, you still have to pay for it to play it after all these years. And they already had so many losses with Final Fantasy XIV, like this is one of the ways to recoup them, and it's just not gonna happen. And from what I know, like in Japan, if the game is free to play, like it's seen as as a cheap experience. It's like it's not as quality as games that you have to pay for.
Yeah.
So I don't think they're gonna change it anytime soon.
Okay, and Kareem, what do you think?
I agree. I mean, Square Enix loves money.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, they have to pay for it someone else. And I said before, they lost a lot of money already on it. So, although I would love it to be free to play so I could actually play it, but I don't think it will be.
Kareem, does that mean that you're not gonna buy get a subscription?
No, I won't actually. It's better because I really won't have the time.
Oh yeah.
to devote.
And Josh, what do you think?
The only way I can see them making it free to play is if through a certain level it's free to play with like restrictions. But it's not gonna be like Star Wars: The Old Republic where you can just hop on. They need this game to make money, considering how much of a flop the original 14 was.
Yeah.
They need this game to make money. There's no way they're making this free to play.
Maybe like Dragon Quest 10. I know you can play an hour or 2 a day for free.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. There'll be some wonky restriction on it maybe.
Yeah, but it's not happening. I mean, considering they have about 1 million players right now in the beta.
Exactly.
I mean,
yeah.
I think a lot of the people are gonna stay because, generally the response is very positive about the game. I think they'll do fine.
When we got those beta codes, I was thinking, it's gonna take a day or two to get rid of these, and
you were so wrong.
And so wrong. My PM box was just I had about 50 PMs at one time, and I'm trying to get through these. I can't go fast enough. So.
Well, I'm glad that
the response is huge. I can see the game being very successful, and as a result, no, I don't believe they're going to make it free to play. The only way I could see that is maybe if this one fails as well.
But it's not going to happen.
No, I don't think so.
Because even with 1.0, when people were in beta, they already knew it's going to be bad. And here, it's nothing but positivity.
Mm-hmm. Supposing it does fail for some reason, they might see, well, let's just make it free to play. Then at least some people are playing it, and
then they'll finally put Shiva in.
And yeah,
you can buy Shiva for the low price of $399.
All right, and so our next question is by Phoenix, and he asks, in what order would you rank the following games in terms of how excited you are for them? Final Fantasy X/X2 HD Remake, Lightning Returns, Final Fantasy XIII, Final Fantasy XIV, A Realm Reborn, and Final Fantasy XV. So Josh, what would be your order from best to least excited?
15, HD Remake, Lightning Returns, 14.
And I would have to say 15, 10 HD Remake, 14, and then Lightning Returns, Final Fantasy 13. And Katya, what would you say?
15, then 14, then 10, 10 2 HD. And I'm not sure what Lightning Returns is, so you didn't care.
And then Kareem, what would you say?
My response would be 15, Final Fantasy 10 2 HD Remake, Final Fantasy 14, a cliff, black hole, Lightning Returns.
A void.
Lightning Returns. Actually, I don't care. It's on the list because I mention it because it's on the list.
I would rather play All the Bravest.
Oh yeah, that's actually a good one.
Yeah. Every new trailer I see for Lightning Returns, I get less excited.
Yeah, pretty much.
Actually,
at first I was like,
I was
13.
legitimately excited about the game when it first was announced.
But you can play Lightning
this might be
Cloud.
good.
Aren't you excited?
I'm actually kind of excited for that.
Yeah, but that's only if you pre-order, and I'm not gonna pay $60 for this game.
I'll tell myself I'm not going to, and then I will, and then I'll regret it a month later.
It's like 13-2 I borrowed from my friend, and that's how I finished the game. And he never beat the game. He gave up also.
I got it as a birthday gift, so I didn't have to pay for it.
That wins. I'll get Lightning Returns when it's between $0 to $10 on a whim.
So a year after release.
It's in the bargain bin.
Yeah, and I have to have absolutely nothing to play.
So in between the 7-year wait we need for 15, right?
And when I have my no, it's between the 14 years we'll wait for Kingdom Hearts 3.
Don't even talk to me right now. Dude. Don't even talk to me. Don't even speak to me. I don't want to hear your voice right
now. It was worth it.
Don't even joke about that, dude. Don't even joke about that.
Is he crying?
I'm crying.
Are you serious?
And moving on, our next question is by Lyra1000, And he asks, what's your opinion on Lightning being a Messiah-type character in Lightning Returns, I assume? Well, I think it's stupid. I mean, I think Lightning's just kind of full of herself a little bit. And she's always like, oh, and the people, if they don't believe in God, they're just gonna die. And I don't know. I think it's just dumb. And Kareem, what would you say?
I think Lightning is delusional. I think that she just needs a vacation. She needs to go away. I mean, they've just finally confirmed that what we knew from 13-2, that she's now a Valkyrie. We knew this.
Die Valkyrie.
But it's just stupid. It's just like, okay, just end it already. Just go away, Lightning, please. That's even more ridiculous. And why, why would I believe in Lightning? It's like, she's not approachable. Why is she saving me? If you think about it, like, from the people, the person she has to save from their point of view, I mean, Lightning looks like she doesn't care.
Yeah.
And her voice is like, okay, whatever. I have no emotions. Yeah. It's like,
it's not her fault, Toriyama is torturing her. Poor girl is just stuck in there, being his waifu.
I think Lightning is how Toriyama sees himself. I
mean, I remember when they announced Lightning Return, Toriyama was like, oh, she's our national icon, she represents whole of Japan.
Yeah.
Then she gives some analogy about the roses, I don't know.
Yeah, the rose analogies.
Ooh, and I remember when you said that the ending of 13-2 is supposed to bring hope to Japan in such a trying time after the tsunami and everything, and I saw the ending, I was like, is he serious? Did he see?
Okay, when I saw the ending to 13-2, it was another one of those I'm gonna throw my controller at my wall moments. And it was only because I got trolled so hard.
I was like, how does this make me hopeful for anything? Actually, he's right. I just hope it ends.
So our final question is by Lyra1000. Do you think Square Enix will consider mobile tablet elements to 15, like with a lot of the other next-gen AAA titles? So it's actually been confirmed that they are considering using mobile tablet elements. But Kareem, what do you think those could be?
I think it'll be, if it's tied into, special items or maybe some minigame or some side quests that they have, maybe like that. Or maybe just micromanaging, like maps, like a second screen for a map or something like that. But as for Final Fantasy, I don't see. Or maybe you could, maybe if you're playing, which would be cool, is your friend is online and they don't have a potion or something, you can give them a potion or.
That could be.
But I don't see very heavy application of it. But it will be cool. And obviously the Vita second screen.
Yeah, or it could be a way to invite your friends. Like if you see them, they're on Facebook, invite them to play the game.
Oh, yeah, come.
Since all this share stuff and social media integration with the next generation systems.
Come play with me, but you have to be prompt to. I want to be not.
That's a strong possibility.
That also assumes co-op mode. So Josh, what do you think? What kind of elements could there be?
So first of all, I'm going to assume that summons are controlled through AI. Like every other game. So maybe you could use the tablet to hop in a friend's game and control a summon.
Oh.
Play with it, maybe? I don't know. It's weird.
I can't see that.
Josh, I will not let you play with Leviathan.
But I want to! I will summon Leviathan in your city and destroy your city just to mess with you.
Oh, it would be cool if you could attack someone else's city, but then I'll be taking it
sounds too complicated for them to implement.
It's all just part of the team deathmatch we confirmed earlier, guys.
Yeah. I'm not sure if we'll actually see any elements like a map maybe, but even that I don't see that as being useful really, because you're holding your controller, but you'll also have to hold your cell phone or whatever in your other hand to see the map or put it up against your TV. So I don't know. I don't see that being very useful at all. So I don't know. I personally don't really want to see that in the game. And if they do implement it, I hope it's just really minor things that totally optional. And yeah, Katya, what do you think?
Maybe they can use it as a phone. Use it as a phone. If
In the game?
Yeah, like if the friend calling you, your phone calls, and you can like listen on your phone.
I guess that would kind of be cool. It would really add to the integration.
That kind of reminds me of No More Heroes. They did that, but you use the V mode to listen.
And it would have to have like voice.
No, you can't say anything, but you use V mode as a phone, and you listen to what she has to say, and it's actually because they have ringing in the remote, so it rings when somebody calls you.
That would actually be kind of cool, I suppose. And add to the realism of the game.
Yeah.
It's kind of what they're going for. A little bit. So that's all of our questions for this episode. If you have any questions you would like to ask us, you can go to the Final Fantasy-FXN.net forums and ask in the questions thread. And that is indeed the end of our podcast. No feature discussion this episode, thankfully. Otherwise, it would be like a 4-hour episode.
Feature discussion.
Maybe next time.
It better be.
In fact, next episode will be our 1-year anniversary from our first episode, so we might do something special. We'll see.
We better, but I'll be very angry with all of you.
Might be a few bloopers in there, and I don't know.
Just a highlight segment of the past.
Highlight segment.
We'll invite Nomura.
So look forward to that. No, we'll invite Toriyama.
Oh God, no.
Oh, I won't be here that day.
Like we should invite Toriyama. Make sure he doesn't have a translator, so we're just like bad talking him the entire time, and he doesn't have a clue of what we're saying.
Yeah.
Like you're like, Toriyama-san, you should never write games again, ever.
So, if you're a first-time listener, you can find us on the iTunes Store, the Miro Podcast Directory, YouTube on our Final Fantasy FXN channel, and of course, FinalFantasy-FXN.net. Our next episode will be released in the second week of August, so please be excited. All right, bye everyone.
Adios.
See ya.
Bye.
Fun with that, Val.